Good morning, this is Sarah, your healthy carnivore in the UK. I'm on day, is it 42 or 43 now? I'm trying not to count the days, but the reason I feel like I'm a good person to talk about this is that it's not long ago when I was still in that carb ditch. Not long ago. 45 days ago, I was still in that carb ditch. So yes, even though I'm only about 42, 43 days straight and clean from my carb addiction, I can still remember what it's like to be in that fog and not be able to stop. I know what that's like. This video is a replication of a carb addiction test quiz, if you like, that Mitch at Old Guy Carnivore did on his channel. I've asked him if I can replicate some of his videos and he has agreed that I can. So even though it's a similar format and similar questions that I'm going to ask you in this quiz, I have got permission to do that. Now, carb addiction, I'm only going to briefly just say carb addiction is a bit of a contentious subject because a lot of people say it doesn't exist. I work in schools where carbohydrate consumption is encouraged. It's essential for your energy. You can't possibly live or exist without carbs. But this is the video for the people who either were carb addicts to see if they definitely were, or if right now you are contemplating carnivore or anything that reduces your carbs, to say, are you a carb addict or not? We're not going to find any carb addict therapy groups popping up in our local town anytime soon. So we've got to figure this out for ourselves. Number one, are you a carb addict? And number two, what are you going to do about it? Highly recommend Mitch at Old Guy Carnivore. I'm going to pop a link to the description of the video that I got this information from. So let's go. Let's ask those questions. Now, you need to say I'll just answer yes or no to these questions. And if you've answered at least 6, you're probably a carb addict. Now, my poor mum, who passed away a couple of years ago, would definitely be able to tick on all 12 of these. For me, it was more like 8 or 9 or 10 that I could tick yes on. So let's go. This is going to take a bit of editing as well. I'm going to try and list these things up in this left-hand side one by one. So I hope it works. If not, I'll have to rerun it. Apologies that I haven't washed my hair today. For those of you that follow my channel, you know that I need to leave my hair alone to get it to grow. So this is never going to be a glamorous channel, but it might be useful to you. Let's see. Question 1. You don't want to give up the pleasure that you get from food. So eating these foods where, by the way, the bliss point is set by scientists on foods. So you think of your most amazing favorite food right now. That food was scientifically in a lab created to make it addictive and pleasurable for you. And question 1 is, you don't want to give up the pleasure you get from that food. Not going to list any foods in this because it's triggering for people. If you're trying to cure a carb addiction, the last thing you want is pictures of food in there or me talking about them. But you know what they are. And the thought of giving it up fills you with horror. Or when you were a carb addict, you struggled with the idea of giving it up. Number 2, you don't want to give up food as an activity or a source of entertainment. If you've got a very, very, very active social life, this may apply to you. It's not as applicable to me now because I don't have food activities going on in my life as much as I used to. So it's not as hard and I can avoid these things now. But your whole life is, centered around food and you don't want to give that up. Okay. Number 3, food and cooking are your hobbies. They're your whole life. Looking up recipes, going out and buying things, cooking for your friends, it's a hobby. It's not just something you might do here and there. It's literally one of your life's hobbies and habits. Number 4, you search for non-fattening versions of the foods you're addicted to. So perhaps you've gone over to a more low-carb keto lifestyle or low-calorie lifestyle and you're trying to find non-fattening, in your opinion at the time, versions of those foods that you can't give up. Number 5, you've lost weight and regained it numerous times. Number 6, being on a diet is torture for you. And I'm talking about a traditional diet here. I'm talking about the beginning stages of carnivore or any other diet. Number 7, you hate exercise. Mostly because, one, maybe you associate exercise with trying to lose weight and it's become a bit of a negative thing for you, or you just don't have the energy to do it because you eat so many carbs. Number 8, you know you shouldn't eat it, but you do it anyway. Tick. We all know that. I think most adult humans are doing at least one thing in their life that they know isn't ideal, but they do it anyway. Number 9, you eat not for hunger, but for emotional reasons. Tick. Number 10, now this was one that my poor mum probably could have definitely put a massive tick against, and there are a lot of people like this. No point in living without those foods. A life without those foods is just, there's just no point. There's no point existing. Point number 11, you watch cooking programs on TV. Now, my mum could tick that one, but I couldn't, because I knew that cooking programs were a massive trigger for me. So I never watched cooking programs, especially of the sweet variety, because, you know, invariably I'm trying to avoid sweet food, and watching those programs is just going to make me want them even more. So for me, it was a cross against that particular one. I was a carb addict, but I didn't watch cooking programs on TV, because those kind of programs would just make me want to eat even more than I already did. So I knew that watching them was going to make me even bigger than I already was. And number 12, you are unhappy with your health and or appearance. Bit of a tricky one, because not everyone is miserable with their health and their appearance, but they might still be a bit of a carb addict. But in general, if you have a lifelong on and off addiction with carbs, chances are your health isn't at its absolute optimum, and your appearance isn't at its absolute optimum. So yeah, there's another one that you can tick. For me, I didn't tick the search for non-fattening versions of those foods, because if I was on a carb binge, even if I wasn't, then I just didn't eat them. And if I was, I wouldn't search for non-fattening versions. I was having the real thing. I hate exercise. I didn't actually hate exercise. I like to go to Zumba. You know, I enjoy it just as long as it didn't feel too much like obvious exercise. I'm happy to do walking and cycling and swimming and jumping off into the sea and, you know, going to a dance class, as long as it didn't feel too much like structure. I certainly hated the gym. And I couldn't tick the cooking programs on TV, because I always avoided those things because I knew they were so triggering for me. So I kind of known I've been a carb addict or sugar addict for many, many years. When Mitch said to me, "Are you a carb addict?" the decision was very easy. These questions are more for the people that don't want to admit it. They're not quite in that place where they want to say, actually, you're right, I am and it's not just carbs, is it? It's primarily the processed, hyper palatable stuff, full of the mixture of unhealthy fats like the seed oils mixed with the sugars and the right refined carbs, all popped together in a lab to make them as palatable and as blissful as possible for us. So this is the quiz. Other videos that I do will talk about how to stop. I hope that helps you understand that maybe you are, and that maybe abstinence is the only way for you. Abstinence is the only way to stop this. If we are not willing to put the stop sign up and just stop, this will always be a problem for us, but we can stop it. And I have stopped it. It wasn't long ago that I was last in that ditch, so I can totally empathize and relate. But I can also say to you, it's possible to pull yourself out of that ditch. Staying there for long periods of time is something that I still need to work on, but you can get yourself out of that ditch into a place where you can start thinking clearer and making better health decisions for yourself. So that's the end of the quiz. I'm going to try and edit this so that there's a big long list, and hopefully by the end of this video you've got now 12 pointers down the left of all those questions to ask yourself. It's going to take a bit of editing, so I'm going to get on with that. after a terrible day of no sunshine in the UK, today we're getting it all day, so I'm going out there. Hopefully you'll get to go outside today, and hopefully there'll be some sun where you are. Eat your meat, drink the water, and thrive. Take care, guys. Bye.